What is going on, everybody? Tonight is the history of Saturday Night Main Event. ABJ on the call with BP Burke. And let's get the show started. What's going on, everybody? We are live doing the history of Saturday Night Main Event. And we're going to talk a little bit about what happened at Saturday Night Main Event, this upcoming event as well.
That was history. It's just very recent history. It was very a few days ago.
History, yeah. So we'll have that covered for you tonight. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna do a lot of talking about that history, a lot of fun things that happened, maybe some old school stuff that you can go back and rewatch, and we can point you in the right direction. But before we get into that, if you guys are listening to this audio platform wise, take a screenshot. We put a lot of work in those thumbnails. Take a screenshot of them, and while it's on your screen, tag us on social media. Say you're listening to the podcast. Tell your friends and family and fellow wrestlers or anybody like that. Word of mouth is how we're going to grow. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's hard to get your name out there, and that's the best way it's going to happen for us is you, the listener. So we really appreciate that. If you're not listening to the audio side and you are watching it live on YouTube, hit up those comment sections. Let's get it flying. We're here usually every Tuesday night. Obviously, tonight is a Thursday night, which was we're switching it up a little bit. Tuesday, my brother came home from the military. So I went to hang out with him while he was home. Wednesday, we couldn't record because we went to Pilgaroo Brewing Company, which my brother was also there, which is cool. And we played some Jackbox and ate some cookies. A fun time, yep. Yeah. And then obviously Thursday. Now we are recording another episode immediately after this. It will not be live. It'll be pre-recorded so you guys can watch it later. But we are not just going to hit you with one, but two TT Awards this year. We're going to be doing the Independent TT Awards, its own episode. But here's the thing. When we get into this TT Awards, it is not going to be the overall who is the best independent wrestler this year. We're trying to build value for this show and ourselves. Call us selfish, don't care. We've been doing it for 7 years and we haven't got enough roses, so we're planting our own fucking garden. But our TT Awards for the independent will be people that we watched or we physically were there for, we were a part of, we were seeing them work, and we want to put over the people that we got to watch this year. So it's going to be not so much bias, but it's just what our eyes really seen. It's really, really hard to watch a lot of wrestling as much as there is out there. So we may miss some things, we may cover some things, but most of it is going to be people that we think that should be on your radar. So if you're saying, how is your number one wrestler not this guy from GCW or insert big indie company here? We don't get to go to a lot of GCW
First of all, I will put up my number one indie wrestler against anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah. And then also going into the next year, we want to change that going into the thing. We want to go to GCW shows. We want to go to more independent wrestling shows and see more talent out there. So that will change for us going into next year because we're going to make that a point to get better at that. So we will be at places, and the best way to hang out with us as well, if you want to come and join the TT, the Tornado Tag crowd, or us in the general admission with everybody else, we will be next weekend. We will be at Three Legacies Wrestling in Lancaster. So we will be there hanging out.
University, I believe. Millersville University.
Yes. So we'll be there hanging out for their end of the year show. And then the Indie Awards will go live Christmas Eve. The night before Christmas Eve, midnight Christmas Eve. It'll be in your car and it'll be on YouTube. You can listen to us on your way to your drive. If your family's pissing you off, go sit somewhere, put earbuds in, and listen to us talk about our favorite independent things for the year. And then Christmas, we will be dropping our TT Awards, which will be all the mainstream wrestling from WWE to AEW to Impact to most of that. I think going into next year too, I think we should just categorize GCW with mainstream. I feel like I know they're not there, but I think they're just on the same level as if we're talking TNA, I think GCW gets that a nod from us at least.
Yeah, no, they're definitely production wise, status wise, a little bit of a leg up on some other places.
Yeah, if we're talking ROH, we're going to talk GCW. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect, but ROH, get it together. We'll talk about that a little bit too. But yeah, so that we'll be doing that next weekend. And BP, anything you want to talk about, plug before we get going here?
Yeah, so PPW up and running. We just announced today Nahir Robles will be on the big show January 18th. You can go to ppwwrestling.com/shop for that. If you're local, you get WYLN on your TV carrier. High Voltage airs every Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m., every Sunday night at 10. All new episodes. And yeah, so come check us out. And more to come, more matches to come, more announcements to come. It's going to be a fun year, Like this year was a learning experience, and now it's like, okay, rookie year on putting the shows together is over. Now it's time to avoid that sophomore jinx.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're gonna have that sophomore jinx. I think we've gone through enough sophomore jinxes with everything else when it comes to making content. I think you got this. I think you're doing really, really well. But yeah, so let's talk modern day wrestling. What's kind of going on in the news? Me and BP were kind of talking a little off camera before we went live here. Sorry, I'm just checking something on my phone and I'm muting noises. But I feel like we're missing the boat when it comes to mainstream wrestling, and I know we tried to do a little bit of it before Tornado Tag, and I think we're doing a disservice by not talking more modern day wrestling as a whole. I know Tornado Tag used to be, hey, if we had a topic, we would do a topic here, then talk mainstream, and then shows were going 2 hours, 3 hours. We don't want to make you sit through 3-hour shows, so we're gonna try to find. In 2025, I can't say it's going to be the beginning of the year right away, but at some point, maybe we start with like closer to WrestleMania or post WrestleMania season. Like we really say 2025 starts post like Mania week on. We're going to be doing a weekly show where it'll be just covering what's going on in today's wrestling, whether it be Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, Impact, everything. We're going to try to cover as much as we can, watch as much as we can. We're not going to be perfect. We're still have normal jobs until we get enough support that we can do this full time. And all we'll do is just sit at home and watch wrestling for you guys. You know what I mean? But we have to pay our bills. So that will be coming also in 2025. Also, still doing the content with Lilly that's planned, where we're going to go back and rewatch old independent shows, go back and watch old school shows, and maybe do watch along style episodes where it's like, hey, we're starting it up. We're going to turn on ECW, da-da-da-da-da. Me and Lily are going to watch it, and start your stream now, and we're just going to talk.
Could be the last year you can do it if this whole thing comes to fruition, where if the Peacock stuff goes to Netflix and they're not going to have the deep tape library, this could be your last chance to watch some of that old stuff, unless they just dump it all on YouTube and that WWE Vault channel.
Yeah,
which
let's
would be
hope
cool.
so. Let's hope so. We don't want to lose anything. But thank you guys in the chat.
I love that WWE Vault channel. That's my favorite YouTube channel now.
Yeah. Raz in the chat. Ryan Vox is here with us, and Jake, the original Tribal Chief, all hanging out with us. What's going on, everybody? Well, let's without anything mainstream wrestling news. What do you want to cover? Well, you want to talk about?
The big thing so far is the Raw to Netflix hype train is really chugging along. We have Saturday night's main event, big Cody Rhodes injury angle, which is most likely to kind of mask the fact that they're pre-taping SmackDown, so the talent doesn't have to be on the road for the holidays, for New Year's. So Cody's going to be off TV for a little bit. KO is going to be off TV for a little bit, possibly as like a suspension angle, and then also Logan Paul recently, I believe they announced that during the big Raw to Netflix thing. I did not catch it yesterday. I was a little busy with the real job. But they had a big Raw to Netflix, event. And it's really, really, really starting to sink in. Oh yeah, there's only 2 more episodes of Raw on the USA Network.
On the USA Network.
Wild. That is wild.
And Pat McAfee has been announced as the full-time commentator for Netflix. So
McAfee and Michael Cole, and then Joe Tessitore. Not to spoil the mainstream TT awards, somebody I think has done a very remarkable job of transitioning from calling professional sports to professional wrestling. He's going to be moving to SmackDown. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-man booth there, maybe him, Barrett, and Graves, or maybe they move Barrett to NXT with Vic Joseph and Booker can go run his school. Just suggesting stuff. And you could do Tessitore and Corey on SmackDown.
All right, so real quick, without spoiling anything, how is Vic Joseph not commentator of the year for making NXT listenable with next to Booker T?
Yeah, that's a strong argument. That's a strong argument.
Vic Joseph for commentator of the year. And if you have any disagreement why, listen to NXT and be like, God, I want more Vic Joseph and less Booker T.
Oh
No
my
disrespect,
goodness.
Booker T, you are an amazing talent. I
Oh,
respect everything you've done as a
incredible
professional
wrestler.
wrestler.
Yes.
I'm just not a fan of commentary.
I think Booker's good on those pre-shows. I think he's great as like a
Yes.
talking head, a studio guy. Some
Yeah.
guys are better in the studio than they are on in the booth. Terry
Yeah.
Bradshaw was in the booth on CBS. Had a obviously had a great career as a quarterback, but he had another great career as a studio guy. Some people are just built for that. Some people
Yeah.
that's their role, and I think that could be Booker's role.
Yeah, totally agree. How about Kevin looking good with that new title? No spoilers for later, but looks good.
Oh
Looks
yeah.
good. Yeah.
I love the shirt he was wearing too, the Canadian Dream with his head over Dusty's face. I love that
Yeah,
shirt.
so great. Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, that all we can really cover right now. So let's with that because we have to cover the history of Saturday Night Main Event, and that's
Yeah,
kind of part of what's going on in wrestling. And we towards the end we will cover
yeah.
the
And
Saturday Night
then
Event, the modern one.
just quick news wise, AEW started to announce a little bit more of what it's going to look like for Max. Dynamite is going to be on Max starting on January 1st with the New Year's Dynamite. They're going to have all the old Dynamites. I didn't really fully read the article. I know they said they're going to have pay-per-views at discounted prices. The pricing information hasn't come out yet. I believe they're $50 normally. I guess I'm going to guess they're probably going to be 40, maybe
Yeah,
35, which, hey, if you like ordering the pay-per-views, that's a good deal. That's cheaper than Max. Like, that's going to base that difference in pay-per-views is going to pay for your Max every month.
yeah. Now the actually there is one more thing I want to cover. And I'm kind of piggybacking a little bit off of Busted Open Radio, but I want to say this. I actually had this conversation before Busted Open Radio, ringside at PPW. Um, and the guy is not trying to be sour grapes. He's not trying to be woe is me. He's not, but give the goddamn man his flowers. Carrie Silken, kind of getting a little bit of a snub or not getting invited. Now, once again, he's not one for his to make a grand spectacle of himself. He's
No.
but he loves the business. He loves the ROH brand. He put so much money into it
Yeah.
to keep it alive and to keep
Yeah.
it
No,
what we now know today as ROH, and to not even get like a hey Carrie, we want you at Hammerstein. Hey Carrie, let's do this. It's bullshit. It's really bullshit. And I'm a pro AEW guy. I mean, my whole background is AEW. I love AEW. I went to my only pay-per-view I've ever been to was London AEW. But listen, it's insane to me that you're having trouble selling tickets at the Hammerstein Ballroom, doing an ROH show, and there's really besides
Jay Lethal,
Jay Lethal
Mark
and
Briscoe.
and
Yeah. I think Mark's on there.
no, I don't think
Oh,
Mark's on the card. No,
Mark. Oh,
it's
I guess Mark's more of an AEW guy now. Yeah, with the
yeah,
conglomeration.
it's like Jay Lethal and there was somebody else that might have been like an ROH guy on the card, but like no ROH represent. Like we're gonna cover Saturday Night Main Event, and in the crowd were people who've wrestled on Saturday Night Main Events. Now we haven't seen the show yet, and maybe they will add some nostalgia factors. There is a open contender match with Lee Moriarty that anyone can step in and be a good challenger, but like what ROH stood for, what it did, who carried that torch, are not. You don't even have to go and give them a payday for the day. They're
Yeah.
part of your fucking locker room. Like 90% of the ROH roster is sitting in your locker room,
Yeah.
and you don't put a spectacle match on of an ROH classic to help sell tickets or to make the ROH mean something. And it's disappointing.
It's really starting to feel, and not starting, it has felt for a long time, like the WWE version of ECW.
Yeah.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is.
I know Danielson's hurt, but like Danielson, Nigel, like that would have sold out Hammerstein. You could have done Briscoe versus Cole again, but have his brother fill in the shoes of the war they had before. You could have Kyle versus Adam, that whole storyline, something that's kind of building. Like there's so much you could have done, and it's disappointing. There's so much you could have did, and now listen, there are some matches I'm looking forward to. Like you said it best. I'll let you kind of say, what did ROH really stand for in your eyes?
ROH more than pretty much any company, even more than ECW. Like ECW had guys like Guerrero and like Malenko, Jericho that passed through, that weren't really ECW like core guys. Ring
Mhm.
of Honor was better than any other company that I can remember at Tomorrow Stars Today.
Mhm.
And Tomorrow Stars Today is, just look at their track record. Bryan Danielson, CM Punk.
Everything we're watching on
Yeah,
television is
yeah.
essentially came from
Kevin
ROH.
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Adam Cole. It's these are all guys who came through there. They came through there, and that's where they cut their teeth. And that generation, so many of the people have wound up becoming the bridge from John Cena to Roman Reigns, and a lot of early AEW came through that company. And it's lost its essence. It's lost its meaning. You got to remember, when Ring of Honor was a thing, Ring of Honor was an alternative.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor, because you just had WCW was gone, ECW was gone, and WWE was doing WWE stuff, very sports entertainment forward, very much
Mhm.
about personalities, body guys, things like that. And TNA was usually being booked by Vince Russo.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of sports entertainment. So Ring of Honor came along and said, here is a very Necro Butcher, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is another one, just a guy who was the man there. And very, but it was an alternative. It was something different. I
Most
almost,
of my banners literally is Samoa Joe, Danielson, the Briscoes, and Hot Rod.
yeah,
Like most of my banners are ROH banners. Like
I almost feel like in this day and age, if you wanted to do a true alternative, yeah, Brian Vox with a great point there. Yeah, they lost half the roster to NXT. Austin Aries is gone. Roddy Strong is gone. Adam Cole's gone. Rebuild it. Lost half its roster to AEW. Got bought by AEW and stuff in the closet for sure. Like ROH produced All In,
yeah,
which was the proof of concept for AEW. And then they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to buy all your guys, and then you're going to be screwed.
yeah,
And then the pandemic happened. And then Sinclair Broadcasting, which owned ROH at the end, started to lose money on other things and
yeah.
started to have to cost cut. And a lot of things happened there. But it's funny because it's almost like if you wanted to do like ROH today, like a true alternative to what pro wrestling is now, because right now, like work rate and realistic characters and everything is kind of what is dominating pro wrestling. If you wanted to do a true alternative right now, it would almost have to be like a sports entertainment style, like Vince McMahon, Vince Russo style, over the top characters, and like you don't really care how great the wrestling is. Like that would be the alternative now. Like that
Yeah,
is like ROH has kind of become the mainstream,
yeah.
and that is really
Could you say that ROH, classic ROH mixed with ECW is what we would now say GCW is?
no, no.
There is some work rate people in
Oh
GCW,
yeah. No,
but then also gives you the hardcore essence as well.
yeah. GCW has become, as it's kind of gotten away from its deathmatch roots. GCW has kind of become more like ECW than anything else, in my opinion,
Yeah.
for good and for bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, here is the card real quick. We'll kind of run through it. Jay Lethal versus QT Marshall. This is in no order. Lee Moriarty, which I love. I love Lee.
Oh, he's great.
Versus a to be announced Ring of Honor, to be announced opponent for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. I mean, it probably won't happen, but Tony Deppen, please.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. That would be a great match.
Brian Cage, your champion, will take on AR Fox, Willie Mack, Mark Davis, Blake Christian, and Commander for the Ring of Honor's Men's Television Championship in the Survival of the Fittest match. I mean, if you go with like a Blake Christian, that's kind of building your star tomorrow. Lee Moriarty is a star for tomorrow. That's a good one. I did not know they made a women's television championship, but we're going to get that, as Red Velvet is the champion versus Layla Hirsch. We have the Sons of Texas, Dusty Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, which are the champions. Did not know that either. Versus the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. Vincent and Dutch were ROH guys back in the day, right?
Yes, they were.
Yeah, so there's some representation there in a Texas Bull Rope match for the Ring of Honor Championships. Then we have Chris Jericho versus Matt Cardona for the ROH Championship. Now, here's what I said to Chuck. What if you remember how we have all this speculation going on between his GCW and AEW hating each other and that it's not as friendly as it once was? and then Jericho shows up and costs Effie. Now there's a whole storyline going on of Effie in the chase. Effie's chasing the title. Effie's chasing. He's that guy. He's been putting the company on his back, doing everything he can. What if Effie shows up at Final Battle and costs Cardona his chance to be the ROH champion, and then it leads into next month when they go back to the Hammerstein for GCW?
What's in it for AEW?
It's a tit for tat.
Yeah,
like,
but
Jericho went and did it. Jericho went and did it for him. Now it repays that favor.
I have a feeling that was just Jericho kind of doing like something on his own. Like he showed up at PWG once. That whole inner circle showed up at PWG once.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a feeling that's more Jericho going to the business for himself, or not going to the business for himself, but kind of trying to do whatever he can to build that I believe was more to build interest in the Ring of Honor show. That's just kind of my take on that.
Yeah, I agree, but it would be a cool way to see Effie out there. I'm an Effie mark.
Oh, it would be cool, but
then the main event. Yep, sorry. The main event, which I am glad this is the main event because as a 2-year champion and the longest reigning ROH champion, Athena will take on Billy Starks for the ROH Women's Championship, which in my opinion is going to be Billy Stark win the title, and Athena gets Billy, and then Athena moves to the AEW roster, which will probably lead up to her going for the title and possibly winning it in Texas at All In.
Possibly, yeah, that would. I wouldn't hate that. I think
because that's her home. That's her home crowd. That's her town. That's her people. That's her stadium. That would be awesome to see Athena win the AEW Women's Championship there.
I know they're using her very well in Ring of Honor, but it's like if nobody's seeing it, does it count?
Yeah, 2 years and then no one really knows what's going on.
That's the other thing that's kind of hurting Ring of Honor right now is that they're on this paywalled streaming service that I would imagine very few people have. Like,
hopefully this Max deal, they'll move it over.
You would have thought they would have announced that already, but I know they've been shopping Ring of Honor, but it's not like AEW's ratings are setting the world on fire. I mean, their Dynamite does well. Collision does okay. Like, people can knock Dynamite's ratings because they're not Raw, but
TKO is people need to realize that the media is strong. If the media train is behind you, you're going to do amazing regardless or not, because it'll be beaten into people's brains until they watch it. Right. And WWE is part of the biggest media conglomerate in the world. Like, WWE is going to be the mainstream thing from now till eternity, and it's not so much a WWE thing, it's a TKO thing.
Yeah, and that's those guys' business. Like, they are the pair Endeavor, the parent company of TKO. They're agents. They're Hollywood guys. This is what they do. Mm-hmm. So and they have the machine now of Netflix behind them, the machine of NBC Universal behind them.
They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
No,
you're not being trendy watching WWE. You're drinking Coke. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's always been it. It's always been the McDonald's of wrestling, and that's fine.
Even now more so than ever.
sometimes a Big Mac is good.
Yeah, you're not wrong with it, especially when you're drunk. That's pretty much what we got for mainstream wrestling. If you want to check out ROH Final Battle, check it out this Friday. Hopefully we see Kerry on TV. Maybe Kerry's a special judge during the pre-rules match or whatever it may be. Give the guy some love. Play some local no to breath. Let him come down. Let him put a title around Billy Stark's waist. You know what I mean? Like, let Kerry be Kerry. ROH, do the right thing. Tony Khan, do the right thing. Pay tribute to your legends. I know you're about it. You gave Sting an undefeated run. You're all about bringing older guys in. Do the same with ROH. Give it you're making ROH wrestling figures. You're doing everything to put over the history of ROH. Now's your chance to really put up or shut up. Let's do something with ROH this Friday.
Bring back their first. No, don't bring back their first champion. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. All right. The history of Saturday Night Main Event. In the chat, let's get this one going. You guys tell us your favorite memories, moments, and chat along with us as we go. Once again, appreciate you guys all so much. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and share this out. Share this on Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere. Just hit that share button, get it out to the people, and let's get this channel growing to close out 2024 and go into the new year very strong. BP, take it away.
Yeah, so the story of Saturday Night's Main Event is really the story of the rise of WWE, and especially that golden era, that Hulkamania era, that initial wave.
Actually, real quick, Saturday night main event, a series of I always do this for the other stuff. Miles will just kick it here. I always do the Wikipedia to start. As a American professional wrestling televised a special event produced by the WWE, originally World Wrestling Federation or WWF. It's originally broadcast on NBC from 1985 to 1992, replacing Saturday Night Live in its late time slot on an occasional basis throughout the year. That's pretty much the intro there. Go ahead,
Saturday Night Live. That's my best Don Pardo. So, yeah, and this is all coming from, and I think we talked about this a little earlier this year when we talked about the first WrestleMania and how a lot of the build to the first WrestleMania were those two MTV specials. And MTV and cable television and WWF are all hitting around the same time. So people noticed those two MTV specials got gigantic ratings.
Yeah.
I think the second one, the Brawl to End It All, or whichever one of them, I know one of those two was up until like one of like the peak of the VMAs, where like Chris Rock hosted in 1999. Up until that point, that was the most watched show in the history of MTV, and people noticed, and one of the people that noticed, and one of the people that kind of started to get WWF on their radar was Dick Ebersol. Dick Ebersol is a veteran television producer, and at this point, Dick Ebersol was toward the end of his run of running Saturday Night Live. So Saturday Night Live started in the mid 1970s, like 1976. Lorne Michaels was the creator. He was the showrunner for the first, I believe, 5 seasons. Left in 1981. They brought in another person, Gene Domanian, who tanked it, almost got it canceled back in the 80s. And Dick Ebersol took over. And Dick Ebersol kind of rode Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo and a few other people toward bringing Saturday Night Live back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, the night before WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T hosted Saturday Night Live, and Dick Ebersol was the executive producer of that. And Ebersol also had a lot to do with the sports side of it. And Dick Ebersol and Vince McMahon became very good friends, and they wanted to become business partners. So seeing the success of WrestleMania, seeing the buzz they got from having Hogan and Mr. T on Saturday Night Live, they did become close, and seeing just how well these specials did on MTV, Dick Ebersol had the bright idea: Saturday Night Live can't do a new episode every week. They do reruns sometimes. A few times a year, why don't we just take these? Instead of airing a rerun of Saturday Night Live, let's get WWF on our show. So May 10th, 1985, it happens. Well, actually, they taped it on May 10th. May 11th, 1985, it happens. Saturday night's main event, a new show, a big event. And this was special. This was more special now. Like, they tried to pump up that card on Saturday. Cody very rarely defends that world title on TV. Both of the main titles were defended. The women's title was defended. It felt closer to a pay-per-view than a TV show.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, back in 1985, you didn't see star versus star very often on TV unless there was some kind of big angle and you were going to have some kind of a schmoz finish. Like, your main event of a show back then would have been something like Tito Santana against a guy like a Johnny Rodz, who was there to be a guy who could be incredibly entertaining, but chances are he was going to be used to elevate another guy. It was going to be Iron Mike Sharp against Jesse the Body Ventura. You would
see a lot of squash matches.
Yeah, you would see a lot of squash matches, and just to put it in modern parlance, like your main event of a typical TV show, like this is pre-wrestling challenge, would have been All-Star Wrestling or Championship Wrestling. Your typical main event would have been like today would have been something like The Miz against Akira Tozawa. That would be your main event.
Yeah,
that would be like the top match. So Saturday night's main event is a little different because it was really
beers, brews, and barbecues with a like over on Facebook. Great Facebook page. They drink amazing beers. Also big pro wrestling fans. Go show them some love over on Facebook as well. Sorry, BP.
Right on. So it's going to be a little bit different for Saturday night's main event. And this is going to happen about a month, 6 weeks after WrestleMania. Does a big rating, an 8.8 rating. And it's coming off of WrestleMania. There's a lot of things that are happening that are coming straight from there. Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham lose the tag titles to Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik at WrestleMania, and they win a 6-man tag. Them and Steamboat beat Volkov, the Sheik, and George Steele, who's still a heel at this point. Hulk Hogan beats Bob Orton. So the WWF title is being defended on free TV. Wendy Richter wins a rematch against Moolah. And it's so funny that back then, like, your top 2 matches were your big matches. Like, usually Hogan went on second because the show came on at 11:30, came on after the local news. It was a late show. It came on in Saturday Night Live's time slot. So the match that was like considered not so important, it's going to be like somebody we may be trying to elevate a little bit, but they're not like a huge star yet. They would actually go on last of what would be considered the main event spot, and your top 2 matches would go on first and second, because by the end of the show, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and nobody's watching anymore. So yeah, your main event is Junkyard Dog, who I think this was on Mother's Day. So it was Junkyard Dog and his mother, and JYD beat the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty, who was like an enhancement guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was and then they always were doing some publicity stuff. And the great thing too is that was in the same arena where they just had Saturday Night's Main Event last night, the Nassau Coliseum, also where they did a third of WrestleMania 2 in 1986. The second one, again, the big things here are going to be Hogan and Volkov in a flag match. And they did a thing where Uncle Elmer, who was like one of the wrestling hillbillies, who was just I remember one of the ones I watched, it was him and Bundy, and they're weighing it on this giant scale. And Uncle Elmer has this big bucket, looks like a KFC bucket, but on it says Uncle Elmer's pig parts, fried pig parts. So, Uncle Elmer got married, and I guess because New Jersey still had a state athletic commission, they couldn't do like a worked wedding. So he legitimately got married in the ring on Saturday Night's Main Event.
That's awesome.
And that was a big thing. And so this was where you would kind of set up your big angles. You would do blow-offs to feuds where the house show was done. The third one, which was from Hershey, Hogan and Andre team up. Hogan and Andre team up to beat Stud and Bundy. There's teasing that Savage and Tito were having a feud, and Savage beats Tito by countout. This is right before Savage wins the Intercontinental title. So these are big matches, and this is when pay-per-view was in its infancy. Like the first Saturday Night's Main Event is pre-pay-per-view. WrestleMania was closed circuit. And the other thing that this does is it's also ushering in a
Hershey got a lot of Saturday Night Main Events. I'm looking through like where they all were. Hershey got a few of them.
The Northeast was a stronghold, and they didn't tend to run like their big arena towns that would get like house shows, because you didn't want to cannibalize your house show business. So they're not running in Madison Square Garden. They're going to run in Long Island. They're going to run in North Jersey. They're not running Philly. They're running Hershey.
One. They did one at Notre Dame in Indiana.
Interesting.
Yeah, they did in the Joyce Center. They ran a Saturday Night Main Event in Notre Dame, in South Bend, Indiana, Notre Dame College.
That's it. Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
Wild.
A lot of it may have had, because you got to remember back then in the mid 80s, they were on the road constantly.
Yeah.
You may have gotten 1 or 2 nights off a week, or a month, not a week, a month. So a lot of it could have played into logistics, like where they were and where it would be easier for people to travel. So look, if they could save money not having to book a flight, and people can drive from the town they were at the night before to get to the Saturday Night's Main Event taping, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were double shotting too. So there is a lot of logistics to that. And I forget the guy's name, but they say one of the unsung heroes in McMahon's rise and WWF's rise is the guy who would plan out all their shows, because they would work it so you had to take very few flights. You were just driving from one town to the next town to the next town to the next town. They were close enough that you could make the drive. And like Hogan and Vince would fly, but everybody else would drive. In fact, sometimes when they would do the double shots on weekends, they would do matinees where, like, just say they're doing a show in the afternoon in Milwaukee, and they're going to do a show that night in Chicago. And there's because they used to have A-B crews. Like your A crew was Hogan, your B crew was usually Intercontinental Champion. Then you would have like a C crew, which was usually running high school gyms, and George Animal Steel or Hillbilly Jim would be in the main event. Yeah. They're the ones who would run like in Hazleton at the Holy Family where PPW used to run.
I've seen a couple C crew shows.
Right on. So with that, sometimes if they were doing a matinee, And just say Hogan's working with Kamala, because Hogan worked a lot with Kamala in like 85, 86. Hogan's working with Kamala. They would wrestle in the middle of the matinee show in the afternoon in Milwaukee. They would get in the ring at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, do some kind of angle where they would say, well, next month it's going to be Hulk Hogan and Kamala in a steel cage. By that time, and they would always announce the main event for the next show at intermission so people could go buy tickets for it. And then Hogan and Kamala and Vince would get in a limo, get to the airport, get on a plane, go to Chicago, and wrestle again that night. They would wrestle twice in one night in like two completely different cities.
Yeah,
because back then the arena business was their money. Pay-per-view and TV weren't the money drivers. It was the arena shows. Pay-per-view a little bit, but it was mainly the arena shows.
Yeah, you make your money touring like the bands.
Yeah. Back then you definitely did. But Saturday Night's Main Event is revolutionizing their production, better lighting, better ring construction, just better everything. Dick Ebersol had a huge effect on how WWE's product was presented, and especially with the lighting and things like that, where it's a little bit brighter, a little bit more professional looking, looks like a big sporting event, looks like a big boxing match. And that you can really see that by looking at the difference between WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2. And definitely by the time you get to like WrestleMania 3 and 4. As a matter of fact, when they did WrestleMania 2, it was where it was in New York, well, Long Island, Chicago, or Rosemont, and LA. And every arena had different announcers. And the announcers in New York, it was usually like a regular wrestling announcer and a celebrity. And in New York, it was Vince McMahon and Susan St. James, who's an actress she was on a show called Kate and Allie. Yeah. And her husband is Dick Ebersol. So Dick, that's how tight Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol were.
What show did Dick Ebersol do? Didn't he do another sitcom?
No, he was a producer. He wasn't like an actor or anything. He produced Saturday Night Live, and he produced a lot of sports. He wound up doing a lot of stuff with NBC Sports.
I thought was it always like Dick Ebersol, like before NFL games or basketball games, was it?
Possibly, yeah. He was.
They would say his name before something.
Are you thinking of Dick Enberg? He was an announcer.
No, like they would be like, "Oh, this is produced by Dick Ebersol" or something like that. I remember hearing that name like before shows.
Probably sports, because he was a he ran NBC Sports for a long time, long time.
Am I bugging? Do I have like a weird memory thing where I remember hearing his?
It doesn't ring a bell to me, but no, I've heard the name before.
All right.
I've definitely heard the name before, but other than just knowing it from this, and Saturday Night's Main Event kind of charges along, gets great ratings, and it's a huge way to kind of build up to things when they're building up to WrestleMania 2, where Mr. T is going to box Roddy Piper. He boxes Bob Orton. They do the angle where Bundy injures Hogan going into WrestleMania 2. So there's a lot of different things that are really, really. It's used like the Go Home Raw would be used now. Yeah. The Go Home Raw would be kind of the equivalent to.
We're getting a big TV slot, so let's tell our story tonight, so it gets people to go see the pay-per-view.
And it's also network television. Like that was a big deal. Network television. When Saturday Night's Main Event got canceled, WWE was not on network television again until SmackDown, and that was UPN, which was a very small network.
Yeah.
And this is even bigger in the mid 80s, 85, 86, even 87, because not everybody has cable yet. Cable is not as widespread as it would become in like the 90s or 2000s, and now it's starting to dwindle again because everything's going to streaming. But
digital.
Yeah, but cable was like a lot of people still had rabbit ears. A lot of people just got like their local ABC, NBC, CBS stations, and the whatever kind of like local UHF stations you could get. And so just being on network TV was gigantic, and the ratings they were pulling in were gigantic. They would do a lot of times they would do better than Saturday Night Live. Now, part of that is it was special, and if you would have had it every week, it probably would have dwindled a little bit. But it does so well that they just want more and more of it. It peaks ratings wise with an 11.6 rating, which was pretty huge for late night on a Saturday for a show in 1987 leading up to WrestleMania 3. It's actually in Detroit a few weeks before a few months before WrestleMania 3. but Andre has already turned heel, and there's a battle royal with Andre and Hogan both in it. And Andre dumps Hogan, then everybody gangs up on Andre and dumps him out, and Hercules winds up winning. And they would do little things like they had the Halloween party. Like you might see like clips of it where Savage is and Elizabeth are cavemen, and I think Roddy Piper is like Superman. Little things like that. And it would be one of the few places. And the one before that is very famous. One from Hartford in late '86. It's Hogan and Orndorff in the cage where they both land at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, Orndorff landed first. Orndorff should have won, but they weren't taking the title off of Hogan. But if they did, look where they did it when they did take the title off of Hogan, because Saturday Night's Main Event is so successful, and it's where Randy Savage turns babyface, and the Mega Powers unite, and celebrities are showing up. Brian Bosworth is ringside for one in Seattle, where you have a match with Hogan and Bundy, and it's so successful that in 1988 they're going to spin it off to the main event, which it happens February 5th, 1988, and it's live from Indianapolis. The highest that Saturday Night's Main Event ever got was a 10 in the 10s as far as a rating, but this is prime time. Saturday Night's Main Event is late night. This is going to be Friday night. This is a Friday night, 8:00 prime time, like literally prime time wrestling, not the show, but literally wrestling in prime time on network TV. And that Hogan Andre match, 33 million viewers. Nothing besides like NFL playoff games and maybe the Oscars gets 33 million viewers. Maybe the opening ceremony of the Olympics every 4 years. That's the only thing in this day and age that gets that level of viewership. That will, and I feel comfortable saying this, that will go down as the most watched wrestling match in American history. Wrestling is not going to, like, even the Attitude Era when it was so popular, like, and on a given Monday night between Raw and Nitro in like 1998 when they're both at their peak, about half of that many people are watching wrestling.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less than half. 33 million people see the evil twin referee. Ted DiBiase found this referee and got him to get plastic surgery so he would look like Dave Hebner. Totally wasn't his brother Earl. And that referee screwed Hulk Hogan out of the WWF title on Saturday Night's Main Event.
But Earl Hebner, no good son of a bitch.
Brett should have saw it coming. He screwed Hulk before he ever screwed Brett. Brett should have saw it coming.
Screwed Andy Hedder too.
He did. I love that there's this one picture, that infamous picture of it's Earl, Ian, and Hedder in the ring, and my elbow was in the shot because I was at ringside doing commentary.
I love how we got our podcast photo with him, and we're all like, "Yeah, this is sick," and he's just like,
"Double birds." Yep.
We didn't even tell him to. He was just like, Earl Hebner's a gangster.
Earl Hebner's great. Earl Hebner's great.
Love him. Earl, do you want water? You just did the main event. You thirsty? You need a water? Boy, are you crazy? You gonna mess up my buzz.
That was fun. Earl's a lot of fun. Earl was a lot of fun. And they do wind up bringing back the main event as like
Ryan Box has that picture triple sign. Now he's noticed your elbow. He needs you signed on your elbow.
Yeah. I'll just like initial on the elbow. That's all I have to do.
BP.
I'll just Well, my signature is just BPB anyway. I've perfected my signature. So that main event spinoff, they do that for 3 years. They do that and it's always to set up. That became their shortcut to set up the main event of WrestleMania for the most part. They actually they did it for 5 years. I take that back. And it was always something they would do to set up the main event of Mania. So when WrestleMania 5 comes around the next year, it's Randy Savage and it's Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. The Mega Powers are about to explode. We don't know this yet. Randy Savage is now the WWF champion, and it's against the Twin Towers, Big Boss Man and Akeem. And Elizabeth, I'm going to give Elizabeth credit here. She takes a hell of a bump in this. Like, Savage gets thrown out and just goes full force into Liz, and Liz is just out, like bumping on the floor. And they take Elizabeth to the back, and Hogan's checking on her while Savage is getting
Now,
pummeled.
did that happen on
and
a
then we
main
got that-
event, or that
and
happened on a Saturday
Hogan
night
messes
main
up
event?
because it's live TV. The main event, which was the spinoff. The main
so
event.
did
It
not
was the
happen
same
on
thing. It was just
Saturday?
on Friday in prime time.
It's not the same. It's not Saturday night
It's
main
the
event.
same thing.
Don't count.
Like literally, the entire presentation was the same. All right, fine. So it would still, but they still had. They would still do title changes on there, even toward the end of this, and big angles. So you have the tag title change. Demolition loses the tag titles to the Brainbusters on Saturday night's main event. You have a lot of the beats of the Mega Powers exploding. That is on Saturday night's main event. You have like stipulation matches. Like they didn't really do cage matches on TV. Hogan and Orndorff did a cage match. Hogan and the Boss Man did a cage match, which blew my mind at the time. This is like 1989. Yeah, because Zeus gets involved. Dangerous Danny Davis, I'm sure, was on a Saturday night's main event at some point. But they do a spot in this cage match with Hogan and Boss Man where Hogan suplexes Boss Man off the top of the cage. Well, he's like standing halfway up. It's like a superplex, but it looks super cool. And you never got that stuff. They did a hair versus hair match on Saturday night's main event. First time I ever saw Ron Bass lost a hair match to Brutus Beefcake. One of the great angles before WrestleMania 5, and this is on Saturday night's main event, not the main event stickler, was when Jake Roberts is in this year-long feud with Ravishing Rick Rude because they had the draw at WrestleMania 4, and then Rick Rude is he would always bring the girl out of the audience and kiss them and make them like faint and swoon. It was Jake's wife, Cheryl Roberts, and then he had Cheryl Roberts on her tights. But then they spun Jake off from Rude to Andre because they're both Rude and Andre are both in the Heenan family. Have you ever seen this angle?
Mm-hmm.
Where Andre goes and attacks Jake, but then he gets Damien.
Yeah.
Andre is afraid of snakes. And he throws Damien on Andre, and Andre acts like he's going to have a heart attack.
Andre dips.
No, Andre.
Oh, where he goes in the corner.
He has a heart attack. Like Heenan's pounded on his chest, which is kind of.
I still think that's why I'm subconsciously afraid of snakes.
Because
like these giant monsters would be afraid of snakes. And I'm like, if they're afraid of it, and Andre's afraid of it, I ain't messing with snakes.
And of course, then Andre literally dies like 4.
Yeah, fake heart attack spots in pro wrestling usually don't end well. I think BP's frozen. Did we lose you, BP? Oh, we might be losing BP. Can you make me? Paul Bow in the chat. We're gonna bounce BP out for a second until we get that taken care of here. But how many Damians do you think Andre can eat in one sitting? If he drank like 13 gallons of booze, so who knows? And Paul Bow said snakes are thick. Let's see if BP's any better here. BP, can you hear me? BP is officially tapped out. He'll be back in a moment. While he's gone, some of your favorite Saturday night main events. Let's go. Oh, actually, he's already back. Are you there?
I am here.
All right.
That's the eternal question here. Am I back?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, good. So then the whole thing starts to dwindle. By the time you hit like 1989, they're still doing well. But it's more that the era is starting to, even by the end of 89, they're doing like a 9.5 rating for Roddy Piper and Haku, Hogan and DiBiase. You're getting a lot of diminishing returns though. Like Ultimate Warrior wins the title and business starts to taper off a little bit. They're still doing an 11.1 rating though in 1990 with Hogan and the Warrior against Mr. Perfect and the Genius, which actually, I take that back. That is before the Warrior wins the title. And that's actually the match that sets up the Mega Powers or Hogan and Warrior for WrestleMania 6.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little bit of a dwindling when we get to the 90s, though. And eventually the steroid scandal happens. And by the time 1992 rolls around, NBC's going to say, yeah, we're done. This is the last one. So the last Saturday Night's Main Event that airs on NBC, I believe, is Ultimate Warrior and Slaughter right after Hogan had won the title back. The Nasty Boys against the Bushwhackers, the Mountie and Tito Santana. But it's not done yet. Saturday Night's Main Event is not done yet. It goes away for
First off, at all those great names you say, I mean, you're not going to no respect to the champion match between Shawn Michaels beating British Bulldog for the Intercontinental Championship.
We didn't get there yet.
That's the last Saturday night main event before it got canceled.
Not
and came back.
on NBC. That wasn't on NBC.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 92. That was the last one in 92, and then it went away till 2006, right? Yeah,
right. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Bret Hart guy wrestled too, but Shawn won the IC title at a Saturday.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Bret Hart was a world champion.
Yeah.
So, and then he beat Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series.
Hey, just stick with the Saturday night main event, all right? How dare you?
hey, remember that time the Rockers beat the Hart Foundation on Saturday? Oh no, it didn't happen. That's right. Never happened.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Never happened. So when NBC is kind of moving on from Saturday Night's Main Event, this is the last one. The big angle here is it's Dustin Rhodes in his first WWF appearance back in 1990. Dustin Rhodes is getting beaten on by Ted DiBiase and Virgil. They did a few after that, but it goes away for after April 15th, 1991. SNL is really starting to take off. Yeah. And WWF is starting to cool down a little bit. So
have you ever tried to go back and rewatch some of the old SNLs?
Yeah.
Like when they didn't have the format that you kind of grew accustomed to. It was weird. Like Carlin, when it would go on and do like an hour-long opening monologue, which felt like I was like, what is that? But it was like so dry. It was weird.
So that first year, one of my favorite lines ever is from that first year, because they would do these skits and they weren't even that funny with like Muppets and things like that. Yeah, like Jim Henson had like a segment. And the head writer, or one of the head writers at that point, was this guy, Terry O'Donoghue. Terry O'Donoghue was like a madman. They brought him back to try to get Saturday Night Live revitalized like 1981 when Lauren left. And he goes into the writer's room and spray paints danger on the wall. And he's like, that's what this show's missing. So he had a great line when like they realized these Muppet segments were struggling, and they're like, can you help them with like maybe throwing in some jokes, throwing in something, because these Muppet segments are dying. And he goes, I don't write for felt. I love that line. I don't write for felt is one of my favorite lines ever.
You know what my favorite old school Saturday Night Live segment is when they bring out Joe Cocker and it's Belushi and he does the perfect impersonation and sings a little help from my friends. Mm-hmm. It is the greatest television of all time. Just him like just shaking and
that shaking probably wasn't improvised. He was probably just speeding off his mind.
It was so good. Belushi's all right, let's get back to wrestling. Sorry.
This show is now about Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, we're gonna switch the whole thing up. We called it audible.
I read a great book on that. It's called Live from New York. It was like an oral history of Saturday Night Live. It was great.
I love Saturday Night Live so much.
But this is more Mad TV time because I don't write for Felt. Look, we have a guy that comes every month with a puppet. So one of our fans brings a puppet with him. So I may have to write for Felt someday.
And if Hawthorne has already been announced for next month, he might show up with a puppet. You never know.
Hawthorne kind of is Felt.
Like, he really
might as well be.
Yeah.
So when Saturday Night Live or when Saturday Night's Main Event gets canceled, it does come back a little less than a year later, but it's going to be on Fox now. Fox is picking it up. Fox is new at this point. It's 1991. Fox has been around for about 3 years. They're starting to get a foothold. They're starting to get established. They've got The Simpsons. They've got Married with Children. They've got Cops and America's Most Wanted. But they're clearly still the new network. It is a bit of a step down from NBC, but they're still doing well. Like the first Saturday Night's Main Event on Fox does an 18.2 rating, 14 million viewers. And Roddy, I remember this show. I like this show a lot. This was a fun show. This show was very eventful besides one match, which is kind of the filler match. So Roddy Piper is the Intercontinental Champion. He had just beaten the Mountie at the Royal Rumble. And they have this match where the ref gets bumped or the ref gets distracted by Jimmy Hart or something, and the Mountie pours water over Roddy Piper's head. And Piper's wrestling in his shirt. I think he's wrestling in his shirt and his kilt, or at least just his shirt and his trunks. So it's like, why is Piper wrestling in a shirt? Mountie dumps water over his head and hits him with his cattle prod, his shock stick. That was Mountie's whole thing. He would shock people with his cattle prod. And Roddy sells it like he's dead. And then the Mountie's celebrating and taunting the crowd. I love the Mountie. Jacques Rougeau was so over the top. The Mountie's like Repo Man. He's one of those just like gimmicks that like they went all out and made it great.
Yeah.
But then as he does that, Roddy pops up, like no sells it completely, and slaps the sleeper on the Mountie, or no, shocks the Mountie. I think he might have slapped the sleeper on him, but you know he shocked him.
Don't
like,
judge me with my Tinkerbell cup. Just saying.
That's fine.
I'm gonna swerve while I drink here.
That's exactly what happened. He pops the Mountie. The shock stick goes up in the air. Roddy catches it, shocks the Mountie, and pins him. And after he gets the pin, he takes off his shirt, and he's wearing this like it almost looks like a surfer shirt, and it just says shockproof on it. So he had like a shockproof vest on under his shirt because he knew the Mountie was going to use it. And then your second match is Hogan and Sid against Ric Flair and The Undertaker. And this is where Sid turns on Hogan and doesn't accept the tag. He leaves Hogan Hogan still wins by disqualification because it's Hogan, but yeah. And that sets up Hogan versus Sid at WrestleMania 2 because they originally announced Hogan and Flair, and then they flip it so that because that's when Flair starts taunting Randy Savage about how Elizabeth was mine before she was yours. So like Hogan's like, I'm gonna give my buddy Randy Savage the title match because he's gonna get that no good Ric Flair dude, and I'm gonna get you, Sid. So that happens, and then we have like a filler match with Slaughter and Duggan against the Beverly Brothers. But then the main event, and this is capping off the feud that started at SummerSlam, Randy Savage and Jake Roberts. This is one of my all-time favorite angles, one of my all-time favorite turns. So this is the end of the Savage Jake feud. They had already wrestled with Tuesday in Texas and all these other things. So Savage beats Jake. And Jake goes to the back. Savage and Elizabeth are celebrating, and they cut to the back, and Jake's got a chair, and he's like, and everybody's yelling at him. He's like threatening him with a chair, and he's like, I don't care which of those two comes through the curtain first, but I'm gonna get him. And they keep cutting to the side, and it's Elizabeth. Like Elizabeth's gonna get cracked with that chair. She's coming through that curtain before Randy, and it's so well done. Jake cocks the chair back, and all you see is a gray gloved hand grab that chair and stop Jake from hitting Elizabeth. And it's The Undertaker turning babyface. And it's so well done. It is so well done. I have a very soft spot for like 1992 WWF.
Yeah,
there's some weird stuff going on, but they had some good stuff too. But
good Rumble, pretty good Rumble that year.
Best Rumble ever. So, but what does happen though is as 1992 goes on, this is when the bottom falls out of the business. The steroid scandal is happening. Hogan is disappearing. So this is why you don't get this is why you only get 2 Saturday Night's Main Events on Fox. That first Saturday Night's Main Event on February 8th, 14.3 million viewers. And the second one, it goes down to 10.6 million. It goes from an 8.2 rating to a 6.1. And it is just, they are in a tailspin because of the steroid scandal. Like Vince is about to get indicted, and yeah, it's just bad. But this is the show where Savage and Warrior beat Money Inc. Bret Hart beats Papa Shango for the to retain the WWF title that he just won from Flair. And yes, as you were saying, British Bulldog loses that Intercontinental title to Shawn Michaels. And that's the end of Bulldog. That's the end of Warrior too. This is like the last big appearance for both of those guys because again, steroid scandal is in full swing, and they are like, everybody's got to get off. We're gonna drug test everybody. It's gonna be a baseline test, and then after that, you got to get off the stuff. And Bulldog and Warrior are like, we're out. Nope, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
It's like when UFC went to Olympic testing and they lost like 80% of their Brazilian roster.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And Fado, what's his name? Vitor was like, TRT still cool? And they're like, yeah, you're good with TRT.
Yeah, a lot of those guys got
skills with it.
A lot of those guys had that TUE, that testosterone use exemption.
Yeah,
that was the big thing. So yeah, that's when Saturday Night's Main Event goes away for 14 years until March 18th, 2006. This is part of the deal that brought Raw back to the USA Network. And USA is owned by NBC Universal. Part of that deal was to do a few Saturday Night Main Event specials a year, and they didn't do as good as they had hoped. They ratings wise they were a little on the disappointing side. The cool match on this first one though was John Cena and Triple H against Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton. And that was the two main events. Because John Cena was about to wrestle Triple H, and Angle, Mysterio, and Orton were about to wrestle. So it was the two, like the WWE title match. Two guys in that match wrestled the three guys in the world title match. And oh yeah, and here's a cool one. Shane McMahon defeated Shawn Michaels by submission. That's a pretty cool result. The best in the world, at it.
Yeah. Nepotism.
And they did they did some weird things too, where I remember one of them, like Evander Holyfield showed up and he beat Matt Hardy in a boxing match.
Jesus Christ.
They did one where it was just like, I think it was just like the weird episode, like Great Khali wrestled. The last match was Kane, Doink the Clown, and Eugene against Kevin Thorne, who was supposed to be a vampire, Viscera and Umaga. Finley and Hornswoggle beat the Boogeyman and Little Boogeyman. Oh yeah, Matt Hardy and Evander Holyfield in no contest in 44 seconds. So Saturday night's main event does last for about 2 years, and then it kind of goes away again. By the end, they were getting like a 1.4 rating. It wasn't doing that great. They actually wound up replacing it with Tribute to the Troops, and they would air that on NBC for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I think there was another TV deal, and it just became not a part of it. But now that WWE's business is back on the upswing, it obviously came back this past weekend with a very retro feel. I'm pretty sure I think from my understanding, the ratings are pretty strong, but then again, TV ratings have kind of bottomed out to where, the 2 million people
to really.
Yeah, there's so many different options. And with this one, they went back to the old music. They were using Obsession, which is by Animotion, which is the original theme. They used the Jim Johnston version, which became the theme later. Jesse Ventura's back. My favorite touch, though, well, Jesse Ventura, because he's the greatest color commentator of all time. My favorite touch was that the referees were in the blue shirts with the black bow ties.
Yes,
which is a really 100%. Cool look, especially for Jessica Carr. I thought that was a cool look for the refs.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I'm gonna be honest. As someone who I think I have a soft spot for a 3-man booth if it's done properly. Pat McAfee being babyface, Jesse being heel, and Michael Cole in the middle was really, really good. Like 2 color guys battling and Michael Cole playing mediator but still calling the match was a great setup. Like that was a good commentary team.
It was, and I was worried because Jesse hasn't been involved in wrestling for a long time. Like he did one during the guest host era of Raw. He did one Raw where he commentated a battle royal with Vince in 2009. I was worried, and he's in his 70s now. I was worried. Like I hope Jesse. Quite frankly, I hope Jesse doesn't embarrass himself. He did anything but. Yeah. I did see something Vince Russo said where it's like, okay, you can tell Jesse's being fed lines in those stand-up things with Joe Tessitore. He was kind of being produced there and scripted, and Jesse is not a guy you can script because he's him. He's uniquely him. Nobody else can be him, and nobody else can write for him. But once he got in that booth and once he got into the swing of things, it's like, oh yeah, this is the best to ever do it, and he hasn't lost a lot off his fastball.
No, did he call Dusty a fat piece of shit? Essentially, he's like, Cody's got abs. His dad never had abs.
Rhodes is a knucklehead.
Yeah, the kid is an egomaniac, and like he knew the product enough to still tell the story. Like Kevin Owens is correct with the way he does it. He was battling the bloodline for years, and Cody just teams up with him. What a dirtball! Like perfect. He was so good.
Jesse was crisp. I was impressed with how he handled things. Very impressed.
It's a huge reason that that's what I tried to model my commentary career off of was Jesse and Bobby. You know what I mean? Like he's so good.
And I love Heenan. I think Heenan, he's probably the second best color guy of all time. A lot funnier than Ventura, but Ventura could tell the story a little bit better. Yeah. Heenan, though, my favorite Heenan stuff is the studio. My favorite stuff is the studio stuff with Heenan and Monsoon.
Oh, so during the Australian Raz says so in Australia they don't have when it goes picture in picture for us in the States. In Australia it stays live.
Oh, interesting.
So during the picture in picture, audio was leaking of Cole telling McAfee and Jesse what to say during, like, he was definitely playing quarterback of like, say this, say this, say this. It was leaking through. But I mean, for the TV, it was amazing. We had a couple "Will you stop" lines on our history of commentary together.
I'll have you thrown out of here. I will have you thrown out of here.
Yeah, it's, oh my god, he had another line on. Also with the, like, selling the injury and telling the story with the injury.
Yeah.
Like, why did he have to come out here and slam his face off the table? Like, it's just so good. It's so good.
Is he gonna cheat? Is he gonna cheat?
Yeah. Cody Rhodes used the chair. Horrible. Like, just so I love them.
Just classic Jesse Ventura.
And then he's like, 5 boas, a pair of sunglasses, and a snake skin vest. He goes, you know where I got this snake skin?
Yeah.
Damien. I killed that snake. And then Pat's like, that snake died in his sleep. Very happy.
Well, actually, no, that snake died in like 1992.
Yeah.
Or 1991, and an earthquake squashed it.
Yes, very much so. So for you wrestling fans that are picking on me for my Tinkerbell cup, just know I'm drinking my Prince Nana coffee, but tea. I'm a tea drinker, but I got the Peach Paradise from Prince Nana. And let me just get a It's delicious. Go buy yourself some Prince Nana coffee. And if you don't like coffee, there's a lot of tea selections. So we had to buy one of these little, like, steeper things. Yeah, because it's just pure
loose leaf. Yeah.
Yeah, it's loose leaf, which I like because you get a lot more.
If you have a coffee pot, you can just put it in the coffee pot too.
Yeah, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So Saturday Night Main Event, we had some matches. Let's go over them real quick. So we had Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre, which kicked off the show, which is their little feud they got going on. So here's the thing. One of the things they kept true to this show, quick matches.
Yeah, well, they had 5 and 2 hours and a lot of other productions, so they didn't really have much of a choice.
Yeah, really, really quick. So Drew's gonna get the win on that one. Overall, decent match. It was quick, but it was fine. Io is going to be taking on Liv Morgan, where Morgan's going to retain, and then we're going to get that face-off between Liv and Rhea. And all right, it is what it is. Then we had the triple threat, where it's Damien versus Drew. I'm sorry, Damien versus Priest versus Gunther.
Damien versus Finn versus Gunther.
Yeah, triple threat match. Gunther's going to retain. Then we have the Women's United States Championship match, Michin versus Chelsea Green, which is really good. Michin, which is a really good line on commentary. Them saying Chelsea Green's first televised match was Michin.
Yeah,
Michin beat her in a first ever women's dumpster match, and then Chelsea gets her for the U.S. Championship.
Well deserved. Chelsea Green is such a great character. We were talking earlier this week off air about how much we miss the Iconics, and Chelsea Green really does carry on that. Not afraid to dive into. It's the same thing I was talking about with the Mountie with Repo Man. Just not afraid to fully commit to that character. Not afraid to take chances and make yourself look foolish. And Chelsea Green does that right now better than anybody in WWE. And it's not even that close.
Chelsea had a really good point that I watched. I was listening to her in an interview or a clip or whatever it may be. And she's like, listen, I don't knock how wrestling is now. And she goes, a lot of people don't like me or don't like my style. She goes, but I'm a reality TV junkie. I got into wrestling watching the Diva cat fights. They weren't good wrestlers, and that's what I love. I am not a workhorse. I am not someone's going to go out there and do flips and do anything crazy. I'm going to go out there and slap, pull hair, scratch, claw, and be a girl and go out there and not be. She goes, I respect every woman in the locker room who could do that style of wrestling, but it's not my style. I am a character. I am this. And she embodies that, and she's completely okay with it, and I love that for her.
Yeah, and she lives in that character when she's on. She is on.
Yeah,
like you never see that you never see that break where it's like, okay, she's the real Chelsea now. You never,
Yeah.
and that goes back to when she was the hot mess.
Yeah.
Laurel Vet, like, just so good, so good.
Yeah.
I'm glad she's finally getting her just desserts now with this title.
Yeah, and I think the mid card titles, I know it's a lot of titles for television, but I think the mid card titles are going to help the women's division so much. I think it gives those lower class girls a chance to make some history, tell some good stories, because some people don't care about stories unless the title's involved. Unfortunately, that's just the way the wrestling fan is now. So having the two mid card titles, I think is going to really help elevate that.
Some of those people are wrestlers. So.
Yeah. Yes. Same. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really happy. That's probably the highlight of the show for me for the most part, but super happy for Chelsea on that one.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And then the main event was,
main event's going to be Cody versus Kevin Owens, which I love Kevin Owens. Real quick, before we talk about this, we were watching Old School Saturday Night Main Event. There's a really cool documentary / production on Peacock of like the best of Saturday Night Main Event. And one of my favorite promos of all time was a Saturday Night Main Event promo where Hogan and Macho Man are.
Yeah.
And they're so pupiled out. They're on. They're destroyed. And just Macho Man, just like.
I don't know if I want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he just like, he's not even looking at the camera, but every now and then he just look over and go.
I was like, jacked out of his mind.
I was like, and Lily I showed Lily it, and I'm like, she's like, this is out of control. And I go, this is what I like when there's people like Daddy Magic or these old school guys that even when they're not talking during the promo, do something. So like when Daddy's sitting there and he's, yeah, he's chewing his gum and he's just talking, but he's not saying anything, but he's part of the promo still. It's so 80s, and I love that. Like
and I know they aired them on other things, but they unveiled the $1 million belt on Saturday Night's Main Event. I think it was actually DiBiase against the Blue Blazer.
Yeah.
And the vignettes they did for DiBiase to get that $1 million belt built, like going to the jeweler, one of the I'll never forget this. One of the vignettes for that, he goes into the jeweler, he's wearing a cape, like Virgil opens the door for him. DiBiase comes in, he's wearing a cape. Like with like a suit under it, and he's like, he throws open the cape and just yells, "I'm here!" And I'm like, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
And I see what you did there, Raz. A major part of the reason she got over the Indies is purely because she went in with her whole chest, because when she flashed everybody with her Cardona pasties. Yeah, great stuff. Love
just her. Fully commits, and just, I can't say enough good things about Chelsea Green.
And then Cody's going to come out to this match with the winged eagle. We get it. It's back on TV for Saturday Night Main Event.
I gotta jump in and say what CM Punk always says. That implies like an eagle having wings is strange. Yeah. Like you wouldn't say the man with legs.
All right, I love Punk, but he's being a little pretentious here. Okay?
The eagle. Let
us have our eagle, and then the big eagle. Yeah. But so good. I love seeing the belt. It's still to this day, it is my favorite title belt of all time. It is absolutely gorgeous. And the fact that Cody had to cheat to win, even though Kevin Owens clearly pinned him 1, 2, 3, and Kevin walked out of there with the eagle, and he is your rightful champion right now, even though he's being completely snubbed by everybody. Kevin Owens, you're your rightful champion. But great job at Saturday Night Main Event. I'm excited to see more. There's times where WWE just doesn't do it for me. This was not one of those nights. Like, if you're bored with Judgment Day, kind of like I am, if you're bored with Bloodline, kind of like I am, Saturday Night Main Event gave you just enough of each to tell the story, but gave you something different direction, and it made something fun.
Yep. And they're saving a lot of that Bloodline stuff for the Raw Netflix debut. Yeah, so they're going to do Tribal Combat Solo Roman, which maybe this is the thing I find intriguing is this, maybe we're getting now is Seth Rollins going to reform the Shield maybe with Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens, possibly like an anti-Bloodline Shield.
And it's a justified heel. These guys
Yep.
destroyed our company for 2 years,
Mhm.
and you guys are putting your fingers up, and they did everything to dismantle us. Like,
Right.
it would be perfect. It would
And
be perfect.
that is what makes Jesse Ventura so great, is everything is like, Cody did cheat. He did give him the crossroads on the chair. Cody
You
did
gotta make
cheat.
you gotta make
Yeah.
your heels justified.
Yep.
Yeah, so good. If you're bored with the Bloodline, don't watch Raw January 6th. But we are going to be getting Punk versus Seth
Punk
Rollins,
versus
which
Seth,
is
yeah.
fun. We're getting Rhea versus Liv. Which, do you think they change it? Do you think we get a title change at
It would
the
make
first ever?
sense. It
Yeah.
would make sense. It feels like time for Liv to kind of move off that title. It feels time for, and Rhea, so much is said, like, enough is enough. It feels like it's time to move both of those two on to something else. And I don't know.
Who's your first opponent for Rhea when she gets a title?
Well, how about not one title change, but two title changes?
Tiffy
Because
cashes in.
the transfer window is open. Rhea beats Liv, but Liv attacks Rhea afterward, and all of a sudden it's Tiffy time.
Tiffy would make sense cashing in on Rhea, because I think Rhea chasing Tiff would be very entertaining.
I know it kind of would be a curveball because they've been teasing Tiffany going babyface. There we go.
Reform the Shield with Danhausen.
Yes.
Yes, very nice, very evil.
I feel
Alpha Delta.
I just don't want to wear the vest. It will cover up my very nice chest tattoo.
Could you imagine here? Omega Alpha Shield, whatever the hell that is.
Sierra Echo
Sierra Nevada. I was like, what is that?
Shield.
It's got to be Raquel. Well, Raquel's not even winning the IC championship anymore. She got eliminated from that tournament.
I have a feeling Natty's getting a gold watch there.
I think so too.
I would love to see Dakota Kai with it though. That would be cool.
Be super cool. Yeah. Maybe a returning Asuka. Asuka versus Rhea.
Is she back? Is she clear?
She's not back yet, but she should be soon. She should be coming back soon. Charlotte should be coming back probably around the Rumble.
I can see her being a surprise entrant.
Alexa Bliss can't be too far behind. Like, she's got to be coming back soon.
Well, I think that's her call, just because.
One second. Alexa, stop. Every time. We have to have, probably going to have a return for.
Oh, okay. Maybe Coda is going to get that title run.
Yeah. And then we also have who else is returning soon, possibly. There's somebody else. Carmella. Carmella could be coming.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of women on the roster that could be popping back up very soon, and then at any point in time they can move up Stephanie and Julia and be just fine.
I think it may be more Roxanne, because I think she's probably going to drop that title to Julia and then be on her way up in short order.
I was kind of hoping Julia and Stephanie would take the tag team titles for a little bit and rock those.
Maybe that's a heck of a tag team, but
yeah, that'd be fun.
And then embarrassment of riches in the women's division.
Jade, we find out that Jade was jumped by Julia and Stephanie, and they come up and just run ramshot over the whole company.
I have a feeling we're getting a Bianca Belair heel turn there. I think that's what you're gonna wind up getting.
And then the Iconics come back and beat Julia and Stephanie for those.
Oh yeah,
they're making the rounds. They're making the rounds. They're back on the indie cons. They're doing the cons.
All of the wrestlers that left to start families are all going to come back at once. Alexa Bliss and Carmella and
man, I want the Iconics back so bad. I want them back.
They were
so bad. As long as Ty, or whatever he's going by now,
Sean Spears
is signed to NXT. The hope is, the glimmer is still there.
Although maybe we get a one night return to his gimmick. Is he going to be number 10 in the Royal Rumble again?
That'd be funny. He comes.
That'd be hilarious.
He just walks number 10, and he just turns around and leaves.
No, they play the Ty Dillinger music and they just cut it off and he walks out. That would actually be interesting. That would be a nice little segment.
Yeah. But that's gonna do it for us here at Tornado Tag. That is thank you, Charles. We're actually wrapping up here in a moment. Make sure you guys go support Charles at Horror Prince. Also, he's a really good account over on Instagram that covers all independent wrestling. He's at a ton of GCW shows.
A lot of great art. The great art.
His art is so good. But here's something. I know we kind of teased this a while ago, but maybe after tonight's episode we drop it. This is a t-shirt that has yet to be seen the light of day. If anyone's interested in it, let us know in the chat. You guys have first dibs, obviously, but do we drop the ABJ Presents
Oh,
Tornado Tag t-shirt? The Saturday Night
maybe.
Main Event inspired t-shirt made by Lilly. And do I show the banner for our indie awards, or does it give too much away?
Show it.
All right.
I don't
So
think there's
on
any surprises on there. I don't think there's
Christmas
any.
Eve, we are dropping our Tornado Tag Awards, our TT Awards, and we're doing our independent ones first. So we're gonna drop the first unveiling. If you're part of our Facebook chat, you have seen it. But here it is. Here's our brand new awards banner that's popping out. That Travis Norbert's covering up my logo like a dirt ball. You know, I don't
That's
know why.
right.
That's right. But yeah, some great names in there. And I'm really excited that we go over that one. We'll be recording that one immediately following this. If
Yeah, we
you're
totally didn't
interested,
record it before.
yeah,
Somebody messed it up.
we did record it before. Maybe we could do something where if you are interested and you want a sneak peek and want to hear it first, shoot me a message, and we will let you come backstage while we record it, and you can listen to it, and you can still be part of our chat.
If an hour and 20 minutes wasn't enough for some reason.
Yeah, you can come hang out with us. But we're gonna wrap it up here. BP, anything you want to say before you go?
I covered it all in the very beginning. PPW, January 18th, Slatington Expo Center. Tickets are on sale now, ppwwrestling.com.
Yeah. We're gonna say that I'm gonna say this again when we wrap up for the end of the year in 2 weeks, but this is the last time you're gonna see us live for the rest of the year. So everything from here on out will be pre-recorded. But I just
and
want to
not
say,
only that, but I'm going to go on other podcasts and give away the results like Eric Bischoff.
yes, yeah. But I really want to thank you all. I'm gonna keep it a buck. The numbers are not anywhere where I would want them to be or where I expect them to be. But I want to say this. Where I think I fall short in my negative outlook sometimes, I have to start looking at more of the positives. And the fact that we had 4 people, but all 4 people were chatting the entire time and you guys were interactive and you were hanging out. To me, that's a win. That's a blessing. And I'm very, very thankful for all of you who come in here week after week after week and show love and talk and chat. I know we're not making a profit. I know we're not growing huge. I know we're not breaking millions and millions of views, or even sometimes even 100 or 50 plays an episode. But I'm very, very thankful for the ones that come here and support us and show us love and buy t-shirts and all of that stuff. We will continue. We will keep grinding. We will keep pushing. We have a good time hanging out with each other. This is a way for me and BP to keep our friendship alive and talk wrestling and have a good time. And you guys are lucky enough to be able to fly in the wall and listen to us, because this is essentially what we do on the way to wrestling shows.
Yeah, this is car rides.
Yeah, this is a car ride for us, and it's a lot of fun, and I love you guys so much. And 2020, 23 and 24 were not easy years for me personally, and this show and you guys that support kept me alive, kept me going. We'll say, I don't want to say kept me alive, I don't want to be too dark, but kept me going. And we love you so much. Huge thank you to everyone on the independent scene who really showed us love this year. Lets us come to shows, lets me film, has given us opportunities where that as podcasters we have no business having. But seriously, it was a great 2024. It's only going to get bigger and better and badder in 2025. We love you all so much. Enjoy your holidays. Please be safe. We will have an episode for you guys on Christmas Eve, on Christmas, and on New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve. So everyone stay safe. Please do not drink, drive. If you're in the area and you need help, you need a ride, anything, hit me up. I'd rather drive an hour to come get, or 2 hours to come get you and get you home safe, than anything terrible happen to you or somebody else. Enjoy your holidays. Enjoy 2020, the rest of 2024, and we'll see you guys back live in 2025. We don't know what our first episode of the year is going to be yet. We're still figuring that out.
We got time.
But follow us on all social media, and we'll be posting that very, very soon. Until then, we're out of here. Tornado Tag Podcast, the history of Saturday Night Main Event. We'll see you next time.
Shield.